So I am so super excited. Miss Pfupa. Hello, 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 young lady.
Hi.
All righty. So I am going to be introducing you to our guest today, and she's going to elaborate more on who she is, what she does, and tell us a bit of her background and a whole lot more. All this fun
Okay.
stuff. So tonight we're going to be graced by the presence of an early childhood educator in Canada, Miss Andile Pfupa. She is also the founder of BU Kids, a multicultural store dedicated to bringing toys from all over the world for children. Of all ethnicities, cultures, and abilities. And thank you so much, Angela, for being a part of Tough Love Giggles here on After Five Radio.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. Always, always a pleasure. We always love showcasing what a whole lot of people are doing out there. It inspires other people who are still in the middle of deciding whether or not they want to go for their dreams, for their passion, and you name it. And when I saw your IG, I was like, what? Like, huh? Okay, this is so interesting. I even got to share it. I was like, oh my gosh, Angela's got this. And when did this happen? And I want to sit down with her. And I am so honored to be hanging out with you right here, right now. So, to start off our interview, would you like bring our listeners up to speed with your upbringing, a little bit about your background, who Andile is, and just what you're all about, really? In
Okay. I am I am Zimbabwean and I moved to Canada when I was 14. Um, and so I would consider myself, they always say the country that you became an adult in, like your teenage, where you spent your teenage years and became an adult, that's the country that's your home. So
Mhm.
I feel like moving to Canada, it took a while for me to feel at home. You know what I mean? Like the
Okay.
cultural differences. So it's only, I think, the past 2 years where I've actually started to identify more as a Canadian first, and
Mhm.
then Zimbabwean. Um, and so my business started when I always knew that representation was an issue, but
Mhm.
I think I never really took it that seriously until my niece was born because
Mhm.
we were looking for baby dolls for her.
Mhm.
And it was a very difficult thing because we had searched for months. Because you can't present a baby with a Barbie, right? They need the baby dolls, like, like the ones that look like a baby, or even plush toys, and we couldn't find any. We searched for months. And so I did my research and I ended up finding one in South Africa. Well, I actually went to a Walmart first, and then there wasn't any dolls. So I searched again and then I found one black doll.
Mhm.
But when I looked at the shelves, there were no Asian dolls, there were no First Nation dolls, there was nothing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so I ended up just buying the doll that was available, and I found it unfair at that moment that other groups had, like, white people have options, but
Mhm.
no one else does. Even though our society in Canada, wherever you go, you meet someone from a different ethnicity, right? Or culture, wherever, right? But then when we look at children's literature, when we look at children's toys, we don't see any of that.
Mhm. Oh wow, that's amazing! And even just what propelled you to starting your business, it's actually an interesting story, and we're glad you actually started that. But we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. But then you highlighted something that I found to be interesting as you were giving
Yeah.
an introduction to say, it took a little while for you to know your identity or to identify yourself as Canadian first, right? And
Yeah.
how is that so? How could it have taken a bit longer versus somebody who would have come as an adult like myself? I came when I was 22, right? But I'm still also still like I'm still more Zimbabwean than I am Canadian. But how did it take longer for somebody like you who came at a bit you were a bit younger, if I should put it that way?
Um, it's still, I think, I thought that Zimbabwean culture was like Canadian culture, and I wouldn't have classified what I went through at the time. If you had told me I was culture shocked, I would tell you that you're lying. And, like I didn't realize it. So took a while. So when I first came here, I wanted so much to fit in with Canada that I pushed away my culture. Or I shouldn't say I pushed it away, but it wasn't present in me. That wasn't what was around me. My friends were not Zimbabwean because of the high school I went to. So I was just trying to figure out where I fit in. And then all the memories of like home, like everything, the ideologies of what it means to be Zimbabwean, that was like later on, in my adult years when I was in my 20s. That's when it started to come back, and it was very conflicting of like, who am I? And today I would say that home is Canada. Like, yes, I am Zimbabwean. I will never like what how do you say it? I will never cut off my roots. Um, but the legacy that I want to build, it's in Canada.
Okay.
And even the people who are coming after me, they're going to be Canadian. And my mother always says, when the first settlers of Canada came to Canada, they left Europe. And you can imagine, Europe at that time was a comfortable place compared to Canada, because Canada was a wilderness at that time. It was cold. And for someone to leave their comfort zone and to be in this place where it was so cold, and they built it up, right? They built it up to be everything, but it was because they knew that they were never going back. They had told themselves that. So she always says, in whatever we do, we have to tell ourselves too that we're not going back. What we're building, it's here. The land that we're going to buy, the businesses that we're going to build, it's here. And to be honest, if you look at things economically, the way that they're going, I feel like what is here has more value. But it might change, who knows? It can always change. But whatever you build here has more value than back home. But it's different for everybody.
Right. No, back home, this is your home, remember?
Yeah. Well, both, right? Being Canadian means you can be two things at the same time. You
Absolutely.
don't have to leave your culture. You don't have to leave your language. You can be whatever you are. It's come as you are. And I noticed that when I travel to the US, people are not, they don't dress in their cultural clothing like East Indians and Muslims. They don't do it as much in the US, but in Canada you see it. So yeah.
Okay, no, that's quite interesting and also insightful for people who do not understand the Canadian culture, because I see other people in Europe, they're like, oh my gosh, sometimes we have to, we're not so comfortable. You're not made feel, they don't make you feel welcome, right? And I'm like, Canada is totally the opposite. And I am grateful, to be honest, to be in Canada because they embrace our heritage. Everybody,
Mhm.
that's why we have the Heritage Festival, Heritage Day, and we have to all what you call it, embrace our cultures, right? And it's
Yeah.
so amazing when I saw that you're doing your business, and I was like, I love this, because guess what? You are not targeting one audience. You have just broadened your horizon, right? You didn't choose to say, okay, I am just going to target this because I am black, and I totally understand that we're in an era where Black Lives Matter. Trust. I am all for that, right? But then at the same time, I feel race is all about human race more than the color, right?
Yes.
So when
Yeah.
I was like, I wish people could just understand. I love my color. I love people around me, right?
Yeah.
So why not? And I'm so proud of you for taking that initiative to do those to have such a business. And I'm like, yay, pro diversity. I love.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome. So when did you discover your love for kids to the extent of becoming an early childhood educator? Like you're still
Um,
young
so
and
I became a nanny when I was 21,
wow.
and I actually wanted to be a social worker when I worked for it was a Zimbabwean family,
Mhm,
and her child has autism. And
mhm,
so that was my first experience with disability. And I wanted to be a social worker. And she said to me, no, you are meant to work with kids because of your patience. And she also said that I was a very soft person, that
Mm.
I couldn't handle the stress that comes with social work. And at the time, I was so angry at her. I was like, how could she? Why would she say something like that? I'm so strong. But over the years, go ahead.
No,
Uh,
I was, go ahead, continue. I have more questions towards that.
so over the years, from then, I just kept on going from being a nanny, work, and then working in a home with children with disabilities. And the funny thing is, I never really have said this out loud, but there was a time when I was reading a child's file,
Mm,
and it was like all these disability, and I just felt like in my womb, right, it was jumping, and I thought to myself at that time, and it still kind of scares me, but I
mm,
was like, I wonder who God is preparing me to take care of, whether I'm going to have a child like that or I'm
mm,
going to adopt someone like that. But I knew like this was important work at the time, and that he was trying to educate me on disability. So I've been doing it for 10 years. And even when I did my early learning, my certificate,
mm.
um, I know that I applied to be a teacher, but they wouldn't let me be a teacher. They said to me, "Oh, you have to take care of this child with autism, right?" So after that, so I did it part-time, and then they said, "Oh, you're very good at this. We're gonna make it full-time, but we're gonna put you in the baby room." So I'm thinking, "Oh, I'm getting promoted. I'm gonna have my own room." And then they said to me, "You're gonna be working one-on-one with a child with disability in the baby room." And so it's been I feel like it's a calling, and through it, yes, like I have worked one on one, but in a daycare you're never really one on one because your eyes are everywhere and you get to work with everybody. But so I've always just questioned that, like, why did God um make me for so long work with special needs children? Like, what is he preparing me for? So yeah.
And you're patient. Did you say you're patient? Please do share that with
I've been told that. I don't think I am, but I've been told.
We're going to get into that. But anyway, let's just go ahead. So do you have people might be wondering, I know you personally, but for those who do not know you, do you have kids of your own?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. So, guys,
Yeah.
hear that? No, anyway, at the right time and at God's time. So, what inspired you really to establish a multicultural store? Let's start. Like, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than anybody could ever imagine, really, to be honest, right? So, what inspired you to establish a multicultural store that's dedicated to bringing toys from all over the world for children of all ethnicities? Seeing that we already have the likes of, you mentioned Barbie.
Yeah.
Barbie, my favorite when I was still a kid. So, what made you establish your store like that? You know, because Barbie right there, but
Yeah.
you're gonna bring somebody's a toy that's similar to Barbie too, with somewhere somehow because it's gonna be different, right?
Um, I think like through my research of toys, like Barbie is a fashion doll, and also my observation of white Canadians and what they play with. They
Mhm.
play with Barbie, but then they have different kinds of dolls and like various like, and I feel like that's the one thing for us as people of color, we've never had options, so we only view dolls as like one type of doll, but
Mhm.
they have all kinds, like even some of them, like they're gothic, like the way that they're painted, like just gorgeous designs.
And
So
they're
what made me start a
adorable.
multicultural one was I realized that just focusing on Black children is racist, to be
It
honest.
is. It is.
I know that we do need Black spaces and all of that, but um, for me, I felt like if I just did a Black thing,
Mhm.
and especially as a teacher who takes care of children of many ethnicities,
Mhm.
I felt like it wasn't right. And that's also where my Canadian identity comes into play, where I said I started to identify more as Canadian. And so me starting a multicultural store, it had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter, but more of what I view as being Canadian. And
Absolutely.
that is including everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that reminds me, I saw you went to CBC, you were interviewed by Mark. Amazing. I love Mark. And there's a moment I also went to CBC, and like you're saying, it was also a moment when I was a keynote speaker at some racism event, so to speak, supporting, like anti-racism stuff. And so I was asked about what I experienced because I also experienced racism in Canada and stuff like that. But then the moment that I mentioned that racism, it's not towards Black people, it's also towards all the other races, because I experienced that too when I was
Mhm.
white, and somebody, a Black guy came up to me because I was sitting next to a white man, and they're like, oh, if this man, ever harasses you, come and tell me, And I'm thinking probably they know each other, it's maybe an inside joke,
Yeah,
anything. Until I saw the man next to me, his face changed. I was like, that's not okay. Yes, you can be Black and
yeah,
take care of me and whatever, but this person didn't do anything. And I totally get it. So after I got off radio, somebody was like, oh my gosh, Amanda, that's controversial. I'm like, that's not controversial. That's being honest. That's
mhm,
saying the truth. And like you're saying, you're in Canada where we embrace diversity and inclusion, whereby everybody is the same, right?
yeah,
And yes, we can face racism, but play your part of showing the love that you have within you. You're gonna meet racist people out there, and it's okay. They don't know any better. But who are
yeah,
you as Andile? Who are you as an individual or Canadian, right? Just know who
yes.
you are, and don't take that. It's painful, it hurts, but then at the same time, don't take the negative, that other people always just put out there. But
That
Brian,
that's true. And I also feel like the new definitions of racism as well, where they say Black people can never be racist, or people of color can never be racist.
no,
And I feel like that has now become a loophole for us to hate
no,
European descent.
yeah,
And I feel like it's totally normal for people to have prejudiced thoughts, but
mhm,
I feel like we have to, if we want to end it, we have to end it with the children and show them that we're all the same. Because I feel like everybody was born in a racist world, and
mhm,
we've been exposed to that since birth. But then we have to look out for the future and how we want to change. Yeah.
absolutely. Ah, wise words. I like that. And those who are just tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in to Tough Love Giggles right here on After Five Radio. Right now, we're actually joined by the lovely Miss Andile Pfupa, who is the founder of BU Kids, as well, based here in Canada. And so we're just getting to know her business and why she started her business. And yeah, right now we're kind of getting into the hot topics, seeing that like what we're talking about right now. So moving along, Angele, so we know you once went through a phase, if I should put it that way. You knew that was coming,
Yeah.
but then at the same time, it's something to clear the air right now. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And just to set the record straight, because people go through stuff. They go through stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And just because seeing your business now, I'm like, how are people going to take it? Right? How are people going to understand? Like you're saying, there's some people will say, oh my gosh, you're patient. And then people will remember the videos they once saw on social media. Right? But with that
Yeah.
said, I am so for like, wanting to understand that when things were not going so great for you at some point in your life, we all go through things in life, like I mentioned earlier on. Would you like us to touch a bit of that? And it won't be for long, but then it's something that's going to also
I
be a
don't.
no, not at all.
I'm a very honest person. And I'm not a hypocrite.
Mhm,
So I'm okay with whatever questions you ask,
mhm,
because And I think that even with my personality before, like what I became known for on social media,
Mhm.
I've always been transparent. And I always used to say, I don't want to be someone who fakes Christianity because I'm a Christian as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so that is sorry. So that's great. Okay, it's just a question, and then it will actually come back to your business because it's actually going to help your business more than anything. That's why I thought, oh, should I bring this in? But
That's
that,
fine, Amy.
thank you. Okay, so what was really going on, and what you're not comfortable saying, that's fine, right? But
Yeah.
what was really going on at that moment, because I understand it was a whole lot of, we've seen it, I've seen it myself too. It was a whole lot of negativity for people to even follow on social media. And would you like
Yeah.
to get into a bit of it, but not all of it? Because we want
I
to.
went through like okay, so you have to ask specific. Like, what is it that you're asking me? Because I have many things on social media. So, what is the specific phase?
So the specific phase is when everybody was like, is Andile okay? Like,
Okay.
why is Andile ranting? We know there are lots of feminists out there. We know there are lots of, like, I am for women. And then at the same time, I am for, like women knowing their place at the same time, right? But then at
Yeah.
the same time, a whole lot of people ended up, saying, Andile, don't do that. But then to you, like you said, you're so open and honest. I'm just like you with the same, right? But then I think it got to a point where people are like, no, we can't take this. This is too much negativity, lots of unfollowing that we saw happening and stuff like that. And then now when I look at your business, I'm like, okay, so how then can we turn things around because right now you're doing something good. I love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the same time, this could be a moment where you can, encourage somebody who could be going through something right now. You know what I mean? So my
But
question,
I don't know that something that you're going
no,
through that you're
but I'm
talking.
saying in general, people could be going through.
Okay. Okay.
But
For
then
the
for
people who
you,
know me, to be honest, I don't care what you think about me. And I've always said that. I do not live for people.
mhm.
And yeah, because you were not specific. I need you to be like like, yeah. But
Okay,
about
we just
me,
take the
like I
negative
have
side of
gone through like near death depression. I've gone through that, and I was 86 pounds, and I just yeah, I think it was also the time when I was questioning my identity and
it.
looking back on like who am I as a Zimbabwean and who am I as a Black person? Who am I as a woman?
Mhm.
And do I still have those views? No, I don't even have those views about relationships.
That is
And
where I'm going at. But anyway,
at this moment where I am, this like the past 2 years, for those of you who kept on following me, because I've been told that it's either people really, really love me or people really, really hate me. There's never in between. And to be honest, that's also how it's like with my family too. Because they're always like you're always guns a blazing. That's what my mom says. So that means like if it's a WhatsApp group, if it's a family gathering, people can feel your presence. That's what my mom always says.
but
So
it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad thing. But then I think the way it came off on social media, how a lot
yeah.
of people, they're looking for positivity. That's my point.
Yeah, I was very angry
Yeah.
and I was very depressed.
Mhm.
But I've come out of it, and I've come out of it happier than I've ever been. Like the past 2 years, I used to post all the time on my old Facebook that, oh, today feels like my birthday, and it felt like like that was the joy that I had. Even
Right.
working with my babies, when I was put in the baby room, it
Mhm.
elevated even more. And I don't know what it is, because
Mhm.
maybe because I had found my bliss, my purpose.
Mhm.
So going to work actually felt like vacation at the time, because the joy that was coming out of my heart.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And the reason why I had to ask this question is because, redemption is real. Like, it's okay, it's good. And when I was
Yeah.
sending, like, when I saw your Instagram, I was sending to people, right? To like, oh my gosh, look at what Andile is doing. It's good. It's amazing. I love it. I love what she's doing. And some people, like you're saying, they're like, oh my gosh, what is she on now? You know, because they
Yeah.
that thought. So to me, I'm like, this is important to talk about because people go,
I don't care about those people, and I need to let them know I don't lose sleep over you.
but it's not about you caring about those people. But then when we look at your business, right now we're
Yeah.
talking about kids. Right now,
Them, they will never destroy
wow.
my brand. It will never.
Definitely, they won't destroy your brand.
Yeah.
Definitely, they won't destroy your brand. We
Yeah.
know that for sure. And you don't live for only 2% of people, right?
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
live for 2% of the people. But you never know a potential investor is my point. You know what I mean? To somebody who will say, "Oh my gosh, you know, I want to invest in this young lady. This is a good thing, but what will happen if things you know what I mean? What will happen if things go south? That's one thing that you need to think about as well. To say, as much as you're not supposed to care, honestly, what people think about me is none of my business. It's what they think, right? But then at the same time, you also want to protect your brand to say, oh,
Yeah.
a potential investor can come, but guess what? They're going to look at first. They're going to look at, okay, how is she when things go south? Or if ever. Knock on wood, we don't pray for anything to go south because you're doing a really amazing thing. And we know how everybody is so for kids, right? And with that being said, for us to set the record straight, it's not about you caring what whoever thinks of you or whatever, but then just to say, you know what, life happens, to be honest. Life happens. We go through depression and stuff like that. But then just
Yeah. You're breaking. Sorry, Amy.
can you hear me right now? Ah, dear, this is getting interesting. But no, I hope we will have Andile back in just a moment. And oh, yay. Okay, so for those who actually,
Oh, amenoti yazoita say ya kata. Sorry.
but can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yay! Okay, no
Yeah,
worries.
but you were saying if a potential investor.
Yeah.
Okay, so my conversation with God has always been
Mhm.
if Justin Trudeau and if
I
even
love
if
that.
Donald Trump can have redemption as white men and a group that has oppressed people, for me, my group has not oppressed anybody. And I have every reason as a Black person to
Yeah.
be so angry. I have that reason. And that's the thing. As Black people, we're not allowed to go through those emotions that I recognize that racism happened. Racism happened to me. I've
Mhm.
lived it. I
Mhm.
felt that anger. And even when I felt that anger, you guys say I'm crazy. But now all of a sudden I'm now over it. And then you guys are now doing Black Lives Matter. You know, like to me, that was like, you
How are you?
persecuted
You
me.
are not bad. You're
Uh,
not crazy because life happens. Me, I'm telling
yeah,
you.
yeah. So I'm allowed to have all these, like how you said, phases. I
Mhm.
am a person, I will go through all these phases. But if somebody doesn't want to invest in me,
Mhm.
and to be honest, they don't know me, but those who know me
Mhm.
are will invest in me. Those who understand where I'm going, where I'm from, or whatever, they will support me because we can look at Muhammad Ali. He went through his phase with he had joined Malcolm X as well during that time, Elijah Muhammad, and they went all through all their phases as well. But they're heroes today, you
Mhm.
know. So I feel like my future, yes, people can talk about those few years, but my legacy and what I'm going to leave on this earth is going to be greater than those few years on my Facebook. And maybe, who knows, maybe one day you guys are going to be saying, oh, Andile, like blackface Trudeau, and then people will move on. But if a white man can do that and still be great, I feel like as a Black woman at this point in history, I'm going to have a past like that and still be great.
Guys, Majin's with a mega right here on Tough Love because this is the moment where the tough love comes in and you still enjoy the conversation. And thank you so much, Angela, because you know what? The one thing that I even always say is I wish people could be real about life. Because guess what? What we see on social media, people portray this whole, oh, I am a queen, I am a king, I am, you know, flamboyant, I am all this, but they do
Yeah.
not show the angry side. They do not show the hurt side. They do not show the real side. Because guess what? You want everybody to love you. But no, the reality is everybody goes through something. That's where my point was when I was saying everybody goes through something, which is so funny because today I saw Somuzi's post and he was saying, you know what? I do not judge anybody who decides to commit suicide. I do not, because everybody has a phase in their life, right? They have a phase to say, I cannot handle this. But once you hear what Amanda's going through, you're like, oh my gosh, I do not have any problems, because everybody's going through problems. They're going through issues. And when I saw your stuff, with me is overlook the whatever happened in the past, because guess what? You're human. And things happen, life happens. Let's focus on the goal, because you're a boss, babe, and we're
Thank you.
gonna keep going. So, with that being said, my question number 7, you've already answered it. We were talking about investors and all that jazz, and you're amazing to say, you know what, whoever is meant to invest in you, they'll invest in you, whether good or bad, whether past or present, whether future, you name it, right? Because it's a calling that you have, you really, so to speak. But anyway, just to say, out of that phase, how did you then overcome it? How did you overcome that phase to say, I think I am done, I need to start a new life, not new life to say, but this is my new focus, this is my new love, this is my purpose? How did you overcome that?
I read a status a few days ago, and it said, when you realize your purpose, or when you start to love yourself, people think like it's this magical event where you just feel good, but it actually happens when you start cutting off people, when you move away from places that, so for me, that was I just decided that I just didn't want to be in the environment that I was in at the time, and to just leave. And I remember I just left. I had no money. I actually went and lived with a friend. And then from there, I was able to get a teaching job and everything. So I was able to live on my own. And that was the most freeing experience. And that's when I felt like cloud nine every day, every day. Yeah. And the thing is too, when you love yourself, because I used to always think like, because somebody had told me that I was ugly and I would never amount to anything. I remember. And I used to just always be depressed and cry over that. So when I started to take care of myself, the beauty came, because I started to realize like, oh, I want to learn makeup. I want to learn how to dress myself more, and that's when beauty came. Yeah.
And guess what? This is the moment that we say to that person, guess what? Because I was told to that. I was told I was ugly and all that jazz. I got acne. Guess what? I don't have acne no more. I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
But then again, I find people who say that it's because they have their own insecurities and they're trying to portray that on you, right? And I'm so glad that you never took that in to say, okay, that's going to be my life. But you decided to turn things around and say, guess what? I'm going to turn things around and learn makeup, look good, be neat. Guess what? Your confidence is what's attractive out there, to be honest. And look at you now, you're pushing your brand, and it's a brand that I know is going to take you places, because I know a whole lot of people, they have this whole focus here with, okay, well, there's so many white dolls, so we're going to do black dolls. But when I saw yours, I'm like, there's native dolls, there's black, there's you name it, it's all diverse, right? And I'm like, hey guys, you haven't yet seen nothing, because this girl, she's doing it. But on a more lighter note, let's talk about crushes.
Okay.
No, not love. So, who's, just on a lighter note, after this whole craziness, who's your celebrity crush? You never know, you could be the next Meghan Markle, Prince.
I don't have a man crush anymore. That's the thing too. When I was younger, I wanted a man so much, and that was my whole life, my whole goal, my everything.
Yeah.
And but when I moved out and became comfortable with myself, and even turning 30 and being single at 30, that wasn't a stigma at my. Pardon?
You say you turned 30?
Yeah, I'm 30. People don't. I should stop telling people my age because I've been told I look much younger.
Yeah. I still look at you, I'm like, oh yeah, Andile's a baby. Yeah. Well, you're still a baby, but then as in I thought you were like 20s baby.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm 30, and when I was 22, it felt like if I turned 30 and I was still single, that would be the end of the world.
Mm.
Even before, when women would speak and they would be talking about self-esteem or just business knowledge, I would always look at, but is she married though? That's what I would always think. If she married, oh, she's not married, so she doesn't really have anything. Um,
And that was
but
an
now it's
accomplishment in
different.
your books. That was more of an accomplishment. That was more of an accomplishment in your books.
Yes, yeah. But
And I
now
do
I'm
blame you because
comfortable
of
by
our
myself.
culture, right? I don't blame you.
Yeah, somebody was saying that it is there's so much pressure for Zimbabwean girls to be married, and that's probably true because even though, like, for me, I had a more modern dad in the sense that he never talked about marriage. It was more like, what are you going to do with your life, right? But even if he was like that, the culture itself was more, like a
You know
dominant
what?
force.
One thing I've noticed, dads are cool when it comes to their baby girls. That's one
Yeah.
thing I've noticed. They're not the ones that put pressure. Dads are cool. But guess what? Life begins at 30, not 40. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah.
So, what has been the most memorable moment of your career so far? Seeing that you're still new, you're still starting out, but then I see a whole lot of things going up for you. We see you on CBC, we see you on other interviews, but so far, what has been a highlight of your career?
It's been extremely stressful. It's a lot of hard work.
Of course.
And I do love the press stuff. That's the only fun in business is when you do get to wear your makeup and then do the photo shoot or whatever it is. But I think the truest highlight is not an accomplishment, but it's the fact that no matter what I do, like the press that I do, no matter even if I'm selling or whatever, my website looks good, is
Mhm.
that my dad, and he loves me so much. We have an amazing relationship. But to him, he'll always be like an African dad and be like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I'm like, "Dad, I'm on CBC." Like, but what are you doing with your life?
Okay, Dad, if you tuned in, shout out to you. We love you so much. But guess what? With the millennials, where business happens. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
right now. Shout out to you. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.
Yeah, no, that is so awesome. But yeah, sometimes pressure is the one thing that can actually keep us going,
Yeah.
so to speak, and just looking good. That's amazing. So, what's your favorite way to unwind after a very hard day, saying that it's so busy lately and so much pressure?
As a Christian, I like to pray, and that is how I came out of the darkness of depression is prayer. And I feel like when I'm not praying, I do begin to feel that sadness come again.
Mm.
So, yeah.
That is
Mhm.
so amazing. Thank you, Lord Jesus. So, any words of encouragement or advice that you have now that you wish somebody had given you when you thought of starting your own business? Since you're still new in it, you probably also had some hurdles along the when you were starting. So, do you have advice yet, or you still need to wait and learn a bit more before you can dish out advice?
Um, the only thing is success is like I once said it's like a building, right? And it's like you're in an elevator and you're going up, right? So you go one floor, but each floor that you get to, it's not done. It doesn't have carpet, it doesn't have air conditioning, the walls have no what is it, the finish, it's not done.
Mm.
So you have to do it yourself, and if you don't build each level a solid level, it's
Mhm.
going to come crashing. So just make sure whatever level that you're at, don't rush to the top, just do it and do the work so that when you're at another level, at least you know that the foundation that you started with is solid.
Ah, Guys, you heard it right here on Tough Love Giggles with the lovely, amazing Miss Andile Pfupa. Those are actually tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in to Tough Love Giggles right here on After Five Radio. We're actually joined by the early childhood educator right here in Canada, Andile Pfupa, who's also a founder of BU Kids. And as we come towards the end of our interview, would you like to let the listeners know where they can find your website, or even follow you on social media, your social handles, Instagram, Facebook, your website, you name it. Go for it.
Okay. So on Facebook, I am BU Kids Canada. So B with a double E and then U Kids Canada. And then on IG, I am BU Kids, and it's all one word. And again, B with double E. And then my website is BEEKIDS. No, BEEYOUKIDS.ca, BUkids.ca. And I think that's it.
Okay, that is awesome. Definitely, we will actually add that to our social handle so people can also follow just in case they miss this
Thank you.
part. But thank you so much, Angela, for your time. It was a pleasure and an honor just hanging out with you and also getting to know your business and just everything about you. I know
Thank
we
you,
didn't
Amy.
get into everything because, like, we have 30 years to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And again, thank you so much for your time and just for, showing up. It's amazing.
Thank you.
No, that is so cool. Take care and God bless you. And definitely we'll keep in touch.
Okay, bye.